That's about a month that there was going to be an empty slot and I volunteered. I want to hit a couple of things tonight. So tossed in a few things that I thought might be interesting to the audience here first. We're going to cover a little bit about prompting. I suspect most of you are using AI in some form. This hopefully will not be revolutionary to you. However, and I'm going to have a number of slides on this, but I plan to leave the deck behind. I'll try to make sure Wes gets it to where you can download it because there's a lot of good information. The slides are a bit of an eye chart in some cases. So I'll leave that for you. Secondly, I'm going to cover a little bit under Agentic, and Earl and I will tag team this one. From the Agentic perspective, this is not going to be the what is it. It's going to be what does the future look like with Agentic? What's happening? What is Agentic doing to change the world of AI? And then lastly, Earl's going to focus pretty heavily on the dramatic impact that AI has had on data centers. It's substantial, unbelievable, and honestly, becoming one of the key tenets in every single conversation we have with customers. Are we struggling to hear?
No, I was trying to get
It's okay. I don't think it'll mess anything up. All right. If you will bear with me though, because they've said in the past we can test out some of our content on you guys. I have to present Thursday in Atlanta in front of a number of customers. So I want to begin with my presentation, with just a few minutes of my presentation from Atlanta. This won't choose up much. So what I'd like to do is start by taking you on a little field trip back to high school. Now, we're not going to have a pop quiz, don't worry, but I want you to think about the environment that you went through in your own high school time.
I'm having a PTSD or something. I
want you to think about the mascot, the school colors, maybe the pep rallies you attended. Think about walking down the hall during break and hearing the squeaking of tennis shoes on the floor, the slamming of the locker doors. But I want you to imagine at the high school in your head, something really remarkable is happening. Student disciplinary action is declining and student engagement is dramatically on the rise. What changed? With this school, they've added a new counselor. His name's Sonny. Sonny doesn't have a diploma. Sonny doesn't have an office, and you're not going to find his picture in the school yearbook next to the band director or the assistant football coach. But what Sonny does have is time for those students. You see, Sonny is an AI digital companion built with the help of mental health professionals, powered by AI. Sonny is able to meet the students where they are, whether that's sitting on their bed at night, struggling through their calculus homework like I did, or maybe standing alone on the side wall at the school dance, wondering if anyone even notices they're there. Sonny can work with those students on those long bus rides home, where maybe the loneliness can be a bit deafening. He's also there when the student just really doesn't have the words to express what's wrong, but knows that something's off. You see, Sonny is able to chat with the students 24/7 in real time, and he can recognize when something feels off and guide those students toward available resources. If something more serious surfaces, he's got the ability to escalate those conversations to a human counselor. There was a lot of skepticism when Sonny was first deployed, but the results at this point speak louder than, well, morning announcements across that crackling PA system we all remember. Today, Sonny is deployed at over 50 school districts over near Denver, and this is real. He's able to help diagnose things like loneliness, anxiety, and even early signs of depression. And the best part is he does it silently, without judgment, think about that for a moment, and without any delays. Now, Sonny may not have a heart, but he sure has helped a lot of students find theirs. You see, that's real AI. That's what we're trying to do out in the market. That's what we want AI to do, to be a real solution to a real problem, serving real people at scale. Sonny is such a great example of that because he focuses on mental health, a problem that every family who has children worries about and is concerned about. I don't know about you. Thankfully, my kids are out of school now, but I hear what's going on in the school systems, and this is a bright breath of fresh air and exciting to me to know that AI is being used to help people. So with that, my name is John Duren, as Wes said. I have the privilege of talking with customers almost every day about how they navigate the world of AI and put it to use for them. Not just in PowerPoint or even in labs, which Earl will tell you we spend a lot of time in, but out in the real world, where impact is critically important and the complexity that they have to deal with in the world of AI is real. So let's jump in. I want to start by talking a little bit with you today about prompting. So this is something that you probably, again, I guess maybe show of hands, how many of you use AI on a regular basis today? Okay, not as many as I expected. I was hoping the whole room here.
Does that count for like asking Google questions?
It does.
So what's a regular basis?
But do you use it at all each week? I would ask one more question. How many of you use up all of your available tokens in a week? One,
Sometimes.
two, okay, there's three. That's pretty exciting to hear because I love seeing that more and more folks are getting comfortable with AI. The problem with prompting and the problem with most of our chatbots and our digital assistants is that they will only tell you what you ask them. So the better you are at asking good questions, the more likely you are at getting good results. Unfortunately, many of the customers, many of the employee base of the customers we work with today use AI like it's an advanced search engine. That's not where the real power is. It's not where the real value is. So let's jump in. There's a few critical primitives. Well, your batteries are definitely going. Let's see.
Need a charger?
No, I can't even move. There we go. I want to look through this from the blueprint that we use with customers. And we do have a prompting class. I'm not here to promote it. I took this content because so many customers are asking us, can you help us teach our people how to use AI better? If you look at it from this angle, at the top of the tier, we have the items that are required. You absolutely have to tell it what its goals are. You have to tell the AI tool that you're using what you're after, even if it's a glorified search. As you move down this list, things become less required, but the more information you can provide down the list, the more valuable your output will get. And I'm going to go into several of these, and we'll talk a little bit about what they mean. There we go, picking up. Okay, so if we start with the task and instruction, this is what you're going to ask. So in some cases, things you may ask were, hey, create me a picture of a digital assistant chatbot speaking with students about mental health. It might be something as simple as, tell me what I need to know about this company before I go to meet with them this weekend. For tech systems, it may be, hey, I have a candidate who's looking for this role. Here's their skills. Give me some ideas of the different types of things that they could do. How would these skills evolve across other areas? But that's your goal. That's asking the question. This is the most basic piece. The second piece is put this into context. Why are you asking the question? What does this relate to? Is it just a general query, or is this something that I need to know about things that have happened in the past week? Is it something I need to know about a company at an event that they attended, or something that they participated in? But provide some additional context. I'm going to go through these quick, but as I said, all these slides will be available to you. And if you need more content behind this, I'm happy to send you the entire Prompting for Success deck we have as well. The second part is the constraints and negatives. What do you not want it to do? Specifically, look, I want you to talk about this particular customer, but I don't want you to get into the business that they have internationally. I only want to know about what they're doing in the United States. So let's exclude that. Be very clear in your wording when you prompt it. Provide both the context, the goal, and some constraints that will tell it how and where to act and where not to act. Now, this is not the guardrails. That's a whole other story, and that's something that in many cases, the administrators of the AI tools or the companies like OpenAI, Grok, et cetera, put around the AI to prevent it from doing things you don't want. This is you telling it specifically, I don't want this information, or I don't want you to act in this particular way. So be sure to provide that constraint around your request. Next are the personas. I love this one. This was one of the first times when I really realized that ChatGPT could change my life. Can you tell it to speak to you or interact with you in a particular persona? I use this one a lot, and I'll give you the best example I've ever heard, which just sort of blew my mind. was a parent said, look, I asked ChatGPT to work with my student and to take on the persona of the scientific method, not a person, but the scientific method, and force my student to answer questions and to follow the process in doing their homework. Think about that for a second. The ability to put a persona that may not even be human around it. In some cases, I do a lot of work crafting messages to be presented in front of customers. There's a book that I really, really love called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. It talks about how to craft a message very, very simplistically in a way that really connects with the audience. So in my instructions for ChatGPT, I tell it, unless I tell you otherwise, I always want you to respond to me using the story brand framework from this book. So I'm giving it a persona, and it will ask questions to verify and clarify what I'm asking. It will work to help put my output in a format that I could use. And I still usually need some work, but the effect is amazing. The persona effect lets it act in the way I want it to act and take on something other than just what it's learned from me, but actually act like it. Another one we do, again, back tech systems, and maybe even some of you in your own research, I have to do a lot of research before I go in front of a customer. What might this customer be interested in from AI? What are they already using AI for? Why did they even contact us? What I will ask ChatGPT to do is take on the persona of a senior data analyst, or maybe take on the persona of a McKinsey consultant and review this in the form that they would. Use their hypothesis-based thinking and give me the results in a form that will really provide me more detail that's richer than I would have thought to look from my own perspective. But persona is probably one of the most fun pieces to add to your prompting, if you know who, what, and how you want to talk. Two more of these, if it will go. Your output format, this is kind of straightforward, although a lot of people don't use this. Usually you ask a question and you just expect the text to answer. I had a conversation earlier today about someone who had gotten their blood results back from the doctor, but the doctor hadn't called yet. So they put their blood results, they took all their personal identification out of it, put the blood results into ChatGPT and said, what should I know from this? Tell me. The results were tabular, provided information, some great medical details, probably what they're going to hear from the doctor when the doctor does call. But from an output perspective, I can actually tell it, I want this in tabular format, or create a pie chart based upon the data, analyze the information and create a histogram that would show me where this goes. Or if I'm looking at sales data, what does my pipeline funnel look like? Put that in the form, and here are my stages of the sale that I want to see. So I can tell it exactly what I want the output to look like. Is it great? It will get better. We all know that the AI you use today will be the worst AI you will ever use. You can say the same thing tomorrow, but that's okay. It's getting better so fast.
Do you feel like sometimes ChatGPT, I've been using it heavily for 2 years, and sometimes specifically the last week, I feel like it has regressed on following.
It does. It actually does. And are you consistently using the same model?
So I switched between 3 and 4.
3.0 and 4?
Correct.
Okay.
4 and 3.
Yeah.
Depending on the task.
Oh, okay. So 3.0 is the advanced reasoning model. Yeah, I see it, and every time I see that, I move to a different model, or I check it over on Grok. Okay, I actually run them both simultaneously. I also noticed that are you doing this consistently in a project and the same thread, the same chat in that project where you start to see degradation?
Well, sometimes, but to just give an example, I was shopping for a new model. I gave very specific parameters, and it kept deviating from those parameters.
Yeah.
Like repeatedly, and so I reset Grok and ChatGPT. I did not have the issue with ChatGPT. Could not give me anything that was.
I see that. I see that a lot in OpenAI in the ChatGPT. And so what I do is I have to open up a separate project and a thread from that. The other thing I do is, do you all use the temperature prompt?
Yes.
Yeah, temperature. So if it's 0, it means don't use fiction or go out and think on your own. Doesn't think, by the way. try to think on your own. Or one is, I'm gonna hallucinate, I'm on drugs. Okay? So by default, it's usually 0.2, unless you tell it in the instructions. So what I do is I always say temperature equals 0 in, my parameter, when I set up the project and the parameterization there. I'll say there unless otherwise, but I've seen times where it won't honor that. And if you go temperature equals 0 again, things magically happen.
But it will, I don't want to drag this out and drag, but even when just do like basic HTML or whatever, I'm like, hey, I need this table redone with just this search engine editing.
Yeah.
And it'll go reword.
Go to Codium, WinSurf. Don't use the OpenAI stuff for coding. Do not.
I would also offer up, I listen to a lot of the announcements, follow a lot of what's happening because of my role. And over the last 10 days, almost all, except ChatGPT, almost all the major foundational models have added a better memory. And their problem has been they lose focus. So one of the articles this week was talking, I think it was Brock, was able to maintain a focus on a single task now for 7 hours.
Wow.
Which had not been the case. Minutes in some cases were a problem before.
This is
Yes.
yeah.
Earl, you were saying use what for coding tasks?
Codium.
Something like WinSurf. Well, you used the Codium and those kind of things. All the vibe stuff, right?
Codium recently rebranded to WindSurf. The leading coding tool out there is called Cursor.
It's
but
pretty
WindSurf
good
is
too.
Pretty darn good. They're almost neck and neck.
That was called cursor.
Cursor, just like the way cursor is blinking cursor spell.
There's a lot of other websites for vibe coding, but if you're wanting hardcore like development level coding, that's either WindSurf or Codium. Some people use Claude a little bit from Anthropic, but
Claude with the plugin.
yes.
There's a plugin that's specifically for Claude.
There's Ruko.
Does the plugin allow access to the internet?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But again, every one of these these prompting setups works with code too. Works with code.
So I'll jump back and I'm about to switch over to Agentic here. And again, the slides will all be available for you. The last piece to putting your prompt is your tone or your style. Some cases that's like, I want this to be very outgoing, very, very positive. Sometimes it might be that I want this to sound very professional. Other times I tell it, I want this to sound like weekend language, something that a conversation I would have with a friend at a barbecue, not something you would hear me say at work, because I want that easier to understand. You can also tell it grade levels. I want you to explain this to me as if I were a middle schooler or a high schooler or a first year college student. And it actually makes a big difference in your tone and style. So it can be part of your output, but the tone in many cases, what tone do you want it to take? The biggest place where I use this one regularly, I have a fairly large team, and every year I have to do annual reviews and appraisals. I like to go through that and ask it, help me with these. I never put employee names in it, but here's the situation. Here's what I want to write up. Here's the tone I want to have. Help me with this coaching, or help me with this feedback, or help me write this into an expectation for this employee for next year in a way that sounds very engaging and professional. So applying a tone to your prompt will give you a completely different output than if you just go back and treat it like a basic search engine to find something. So just a quick bit on prompting. I know this was a high level overview. We're going to move on. If you've got more interest, I am happy to share anything we have completely free. There's no cost to this. Just say the word and I'll send you, our prompting deck and additional content. I'm going to move over into, I'll leave this with you. We won't go through it. This breaks those down into mandatory, important, and nice to have, but also a little bit more detail. Yeah. I think I did pick the wrong day to stop good prompting. This is one of our favorite movies. I don't know about you guys, but Airplane set the tone for comedy.
Yeah.
And this is probably to tee up Mr. Earl over here. Speaking of which, if you were here when Earl presented remotely with A little over a year ago, they introduced high performance compute as high performance comedy. And ever since it's stuck with me. And this guy is absolutely a comedian. If you get to hear him, in a meeting talk, you can't believe a word he says. But it's all fun. In all seriousness, though, Earl here, I really have to give a little kudos. Earl is very well known across the research, the high performance compute world, nationally, if not globally. He has had his hand in almost every supercomputer install in the world, including the ones here. He's heavily involved in a lot of the research institutions and what they're doing, and heavily involved in setting the direction of where high performance compute is going. That's a little bit different than AI, but at this point, those two are merging so fast that I don't think you'll see a difference within the next 2 years of what's what in the world of high performance compute versus AI. But I really want to introduce Earl. If you would join me on stage, Mr. Earl. We're going to talk a little bit about Agentic, and again, I hope you get to meet Earl before the night's up.
Yeah, I work for booze.
Do you say booze?
Booze, drink.
You'll be glad to learn about our honorarium program where we pick up tabs.
There we go.
Well, his honorarium program. Their honor, not me.
So I wanted to jump in just a little bit about, there's a couple things here. I want to jump in a little bit about Agentic. How many of you have done something with Agentic AI where you've actually written, worked with, or created Agentic? I have 1, 2.
How about machine to machine stuff? Okay, well, you just gotta rename it and call it something else, right?
I don't got enough compute for that, man.
What was your quick
Code pipelines.
code pipelines?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're using any of the coding tools right now, most of those have all gone Agentic. I would have to say, even just a few weeks ago, I was living in the world of AI every single day. I was asking the question, what makes Agentic different? People keep saying the word, well, it's autonomous. That didn't mean a lot to me. Give me some real world examples of what makes it Agentic. Why is this Agentic and that's not? So I've done a little bit of research, and then a lot lately has really begun to come out in a lot of the podcasts and from a lot of the reputable tech writers out there on this topic. This came from an OpenAI report that was published, I guess, in the last week or so, which was really fascinating. They did an analysis of the majority of use cases that their named customers are using OpenAI for, and they found that of all of those, almost all fit into one of these 6 categories, which is really interesting. So I'm going to use this a little bit as we go through and talk about how some of this Agentic is happening. But if you look through it, content creation is probably the most common. If you're not in marketing, you may not see this as much as we do, but being in sales and marketing, the marketing teams are eating up AI in general for creating images. I mean, you almost in a world now where you don't have to pay for stock imagery anymore. You can create whatever you want in just minutes. The ability to create videos is getting better. People still walk like horses with backwards kneecaps and stuff, but it's getting a lot better. The content, the tech write, the copy, all of those kind of things that happen in the marketing and sales world are easy fodder for AI, and that's happening a lot. Automation, I think probably many of you in this room deal with some form of automation. Being able to, I heard a beginning conversation on Ansible and Terraform. I can now ask it, hey, create me an Ansible playbook to do this for these type of devices, and in minutes, I've got something that I couldn't have written before.
That would qualify.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big opportunities there is if you have to go from, a hashy corp stuff, over to a Terraform or something like that. I mean, in the past, that would take months to do. Lots of people to do it. Now you get 80% of it done pretty darn quick.
How many of you have read a Gartner report? How many of you understand like the whole research that goes behind that? Don't know if you some. The beauty of AI now is with a well-written prompt, you can get a lot of that kind of research now through AI. Think about it this way. AI does have access, most of the foundational models have access to the internet. When I'm going to meet with a customer, I ask the lengthy prompt. I want you to take on the persona of a senior analyst. I want you to research all of this company's public filings, every social media post that this company has made, and everything that's been written as an article or blog post on their website. Synthesize that and tell me every place where they are using AI, looking for AI, think AI could help them, or have a known risk to the business or the brand that AI might be able to solve. And 5 or 10 minutes, this thing can come back and provide me a fantastic outline for a great conversation with a customer. Research is amazing and probably one of the most well-developed areas in AI right now. Coding, you know about data analysis, general. I mean, if you haven't done it, I encourage you to go home, find your favorite PDF document on something, drop it into one of the online chat tools and ask it to summarize it for you.
Absolutely.
If you want to take that a step further and have some real fun, go to Notebook LM, drop that PDF and ask it to create you a 15-minute podcast, having two people discuss that PDF document for you.
Who uses?
It works and it's in natural language and you hear it. It's like two people talking.
Notebook LM, Google Notebook LM, Notebook
It's
LM
free.
.google.com.
It's fantastic.
Not even if you don't create the podcast, you create the briefing document, the FAQs, things like that. I use it all the time. I use it all the time for meetings and summarization of meetings. I don't trust what Zoom's giving me. I basically take the video, drop it in, bam, got it.
Earl, give me a move over here so the remote can hear.
Oh,
Yeah, I want
okay.
to see something absolutely hilarious. He did a data sheet for a microcontroller family.
Yeah.
It goes off the rail.
Okay.
The funniest one
In
I've
the
seen.
funniest ways possible.
Yeah, the funniest one I've seen is a guy I worked with fed it his homeowners association contract and had a podcast about that. That's different. I just have to say, you've got to be.
Well, it's anything like my home.
Yeah. And then lastly, ideation strategy. This is where it's really acting like a digital assistant, working with you to do things. So let me get in real quick before I hand the floor to Earl to talk fully about data centers. What is AI going to look like 12 to 24 months from now, and maybe even longer than that? I'm only going to pick a couple of these because this could be lengthy. The first, I like the idea of content creation. So again, today I can ask it to create me logos. I can create images for my website. I can ask it to create copy. Imagine a world which is coming 12 to 24 months from now, where not only can it do that, but it's doing it on its own. It's watching the internet, looking at the feedback that's happening, what's being clicked on our website, and creating new images in real time in brand, using the brand format, and sending those to a human to be signed off on. At which point it can take it and apply it to the website in real time, even watch the effect. Did the change of this image impact the flow to our website? If so, do I switch it back? It can do agentic AI without human intervention, could do A/B test. The ability to set up two different versions and have canary test of these different sets. The ability to also at the same time, probably more 4 years out, have additional agents that are watching the sentiment, not just what's happening, but is there social media feedback happening about our website, about our brand? And if so, can I in real time, fully autonomously create new images, new tech copy, new blog articles, new postings that could address maybe a negative sentiment about our brand that's happening in social media? Imagine a world where agentic is really, and this is not too futuristic. This is coming. And we're probably 12, 24 months out before some of this hits. But the real world of agentic is crazy what's happening. Question?
Yes, sir. And this might be a little weeds, but when I'm thinking of agentic, I'm thinking more of the gentleman, I don't remember which model he was using, but he attached it to a system that let it run commands on the system.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that?
That's a pseudo form of the true agentic. You know, the Google, excuse me, OpenAI has the command piece where it can go out and
Anthropics.
and book or look. It won't actually book your flights and hotels and everything, but at least it'll narrow it down and do all of that. That's on the command side. Agentic would be, and it did book your hotel, and it did know that you needed, a lower floor than a higher floor, et cetera, et cetera. That would be more of the agenda.
In the world of the research, so I mentioned earlier the research I can do today. Research is well advanced, even with the AI tools. And a lot of the foundation models now have a version, the deep research version, deep learning, or the deep analysis versions.
Yeah.
Some of those are really paid for. I think Grok will let you do a little bit of that for free. But I want you to look to the future. I mean, today I can ask it to go search everything it knows now and produce me a report. Within 12 months, they're talking about having something on the line of a full Gartner or McKinsey consultant analysis team of agents that can do this for you. Imagine having an agent that's watching the patent filings and reporting back anything that could impact your business. Another agent at the same time is watching all of the company that you're tracking, their postings ongoing, not just show me what it says right now, but if something is posted at 3 o'clock in the morning, I want to know about it. I want it to change and evolve the content that I'm responding and reacting to. Having additional analysts that are reviewing what the other agents are creating and trying to figure out how that's going to impact maybe the desired outcome that we're trying to chase with that customer or what that customer is trying to do from a business goal. Having additional agents that are doing a negative inverse, that are almost the generative antagonist, injecting things back in and testing of the theory. So research test. Does that research hold up to these theories or these hypotheses? And evaluating that in real time, again, based on incoming continuous data. This is what Agentic AI is headed for. And again, 12 to 24 months from now, we're going to see a lot of this happen. This is going to sound a little bit negative, and I don't want this to be a negative note. We've said, and I think even Jensen, the head of NVIDIA, has said from stage multiple times now, AI is not going to take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. With the way Agentic's going, it's going to displace quite a few more jobs. There's going to be entire teams that go away. This one is interesting to me. If you think about what a COO does, if I could break a chief operating officer's role down into all the tasks they do out throughout a day, I could create a swarm of agents, each one doing different parts of their task, of their job, evaluating each other. And we are probably not more than 36 months away from actually having AI that could be the COO for an organization. Could control the teams, set projects, define goals, notify finance of budget changes, report and create purchase orders. They're talking back into the world of data mesh about having AI within the next 12 to 24, these agents that could call up Daniel over here and schedule an interview to try to find out what he knows about a particular topic because it knows he's identified subject matter expert, and then fold that information back into the research. Schedule interviews, even consider paying for reports. It sees that Gartner puts something out there and evaluates the topic, the heading, it looks like it's right, and the Agentic AI could go and buy that report, process the report, synthesize it into the deep analysis for the company. Now, if you're afraid of AI, I'm sorry, I probably just fed some fears. That was not my goal. Everything I'm telling you actually excites me in so many ways. And the reason for that is, even though there are malicious actors out there, someone went and created a product like Sunny, a mental health thing that helps our kids, that helps solve a problem that's real. And I believe with all my heart that the good people out there, many of those sitting around this table, are going to take advantage of the AI capabilities to solve some real problems for humanity and do real good that we've never been able to do before. I want Earl to tell you a little bit about the impact AI is having on a data center, because some of you have to deal with data centers in your day lives here. And I think you're probably seeing some of this as well. So with that, Earl?
Yeah, thanks. I do believe that last statement about AI will take some jobs away. I believe you've heard of unsupervised, supervised learning, those type of things. At the end of the day, you still have to deal with garbage in and garbage out. So we just have a lot more garbage, I think. The other thing is this world has gone to the edge. We talk about the big data centers and the hyperscalers and everything else, but the edge is where the big data comes from. And whether it's small devices like this, or it's a PLC talking to each other, or there you go. Yeah. I've got a little device right here that basically is monitoring my heart because I had, I drank too much. I think I had a TIA or something. And So, it's chipped up. I'm
Comes from
chipped
being
up.
paid for by booze.
That's right. Exactly. So we're gonna kind of go here and, everything has changed. Everything today. Some of you weren't born in the 70s or 80s, but that was one of the funnest times in computing history. Yeah, okay. And if you think, when I think back, it is the 1970s and 80s all over again. The first cray I was on was Los Alamos, the Cray 1B, right? Sitting there. Mean time between failure was measured in minutes, not hours or weeks or years, but it did something fast. And we're going through that incredible step change, and AI is part of it, but it's general computing. It's this thing called the edge. It's software as a boat anchor around our neck on some of this stuff, but everything's on this piece. It affects you and affects the data center. And the one thing that's not on there that should be on there is you. That change. People are changing. Ever read a book? It's called The Change Function, Pip Coburn. Okay, a long time ago. But he talks about information explosion, all these devices cramming, all of that, whether it's on the cell phone or whether it's on, Hulu trying to do their thing, etc. And the humans can only take so much information and process it and respond back to it. Our baud rate is not very good. Computers are. I'm not saying we're heading to singularity, and I'm not saying I'm getting a neural chip or Neuralink in my head or anytime soon. But everything is impacted, and AI is just exacerbating this thing. Now, I live in the world with the supercomputers and HPC and everything like that, and to me, it's the same coin, different side. We didn't call it AI. We call it analytics, modeling, simulation, that kind of stuff. Now it's happening there. AI would not have happened today if it wasn't for the supercomputing capabilities. That was based on supercomputing capability. But we're in this huge transition phase right now. So I can only think in threes, or triangles and things like that. I don't know what it is. You were having problems with calculus. I was just trying to get out of the abacus, So, yeah.
You've been talking to too many GPUs.
Yeah.
Quadrilaterals are lying.
We got to talk about these GPU things once in a while. Here, anyway, so the world has been in that compute mainframe centric. Yeah, I call it yesteryear. It was there, and there was basically people built lots of data centers, right? And what's the average rack power to one of those traditional data centers? 7 kVA. 7 kVA. Now they've upgraded. Today we're kind of in this realm right now, and it's all about this thing called accelerators. And so GPUs could be one. FPGAs are still a very useful tool. DPUs, anybody use DPUs, things like that. There's new accelerators coming out specifically for inferencing, whether you look at Grok, Inspire Semi on the Thunderbird processor, Tachyum, et cetera, et cetera. So we're basically in this area, and the average data center rack is what? 30 to 40 to 50 kVA. 50 to 70 is about as much as I can put a rear door heat exchanger on in the back and play around in it. I have to use DLC, direct liquid on chip, all of that stuff. But what's happening in this world is this decoupling is starting to do. There's also this cloud phase back here. Is everybody went to the cloud? Oh my God. Then they got the bill. Now they're saying, hey, what do I do now? What works on the cloud is great. Here's where we're going. this is probably a good 5 years out, maybe 7 years out. But we're actually putting data back into the data center. Now, we have data all over the place, but what, you know how, for every byte of raw data, do you know, on average, how much meta information is associated with every byte? Any guesses?
At least, probably.
Between 10 and 100. For every byte created, and it depends on, the domain and everything else. There's 10 to 100 additional bytes of meta information associated. So your data center is running 1 petabyte of data. You're using 1 petabyte of data. Well, you've got 100 petabytes of meta information that's coming. And that's not here yet. This is the big change. That's the transformation that's going to happen. This is what AI is going to do, is it's going to start taking the data that has been at rest, ETL, any database wonks in here, the ETL model, and start putting it in motion. Data at rest, store and ignore, means no monetization out of that data. It means nothing. It's maybe it's CYA for some people, but you've got to put it in motion to monetize it. That's what AI is starting to do, is make that transformation out of store and ignore, at rest, ETL models into information in flight. There was a question? Comment.
Does that mean the data would be saved to keep ephemerally?
This is another thing that's going on right now. Do I need to keep the raw data, or do I need to keep the meta information or the heuristics about that?
That's the question.
Yeah. And so the question, this is, for example, I'll give you an example. You probably don't have any oil companies here. I came in from Houston, a lot of oil companies there. They can go out and shoot the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. I'm working on it, guys. They go out there, shoot it. Run seismic to capture the information. Today, do they really need that information? What they need to know about that, if I wanted to steal something, I don't steal their data. I steal their parameterization, the setup of that model. Because I can get the data. I can go out and spec data. I can reshoot it. I don't need it. So the question is, what data do I store? There'll always be storage. Don't get me wrong. There'll always be storage. But what do you do with an archive today? You put it in there and
Never read it.
hope to God you remember how to reload it if you needed it. That's how archives work. Okay. I've got lots of backup stories, right? But the deal is, when you archive it, why shouldn't you be running some tagging on it? Why shouldn't you be putting the meta information associated with, why did I run it? What job was it running? What was the situation, scenario, etc., and store that and keep that around? Because that's going to be what's important to the regulators or whatever. So we're moving towards this model where everything is decomposed. It's all about the data. It's not about the computer. It's about data movement. I hate saying this, but McNeely was right. The network is the computer. The network is the computer. And you're just going to have lots of different bits and pieces on it. Now, because of this thing called AI, Mr. AI here, it impacts the data center across the board. On a superpod, any of you guys work on an NVIDIA superpod? Seen one? It's a big machine, takes up a lot of energy, lots of gold plates. Anyway, you know what a 3 SU superpod, 3 scalable unit superpod. Do you know what the spine cabling is, the diameter of the fiber optics for that spine?
Individual or the bundle?
The bundle?
See, the bundle is probably 2 inches.
It's 8 inches. For full bisectional bandwidth. 8 inches. Now, you put that 8 inches and I hang it from my ceiling, right? I got a cable tray.
Yeah, not anymore.
No, you don't. It falls down. It is InfiniBand, but the world is, okay, this is going to kill me. Is an HPC guy. Ethernet wins. Ultra Ethernet wins. I hate saying that.
It's even funnier because we had Ethernet and everybody was so annoyed when we went to twisted pair because we went away from the contention-based collision response that Ethernet had. And now we go to Ultra Ethernet and we actively are preventing collisions. So we basically just made Apple talk and the Ethernet guys are.
Hey, I'm waiting for token ring to come back. Waiting for token ring. But what I'm saying is our average cabinet KVA now is 110, 120 in the big machines. Jensen said 600 KVA.
By this fall.
Now, I think he's smoking a little drugs, okay, on that one.
Just don't think anybody can deploy it.
Well,
that's the
well, DOE
You
can
remember
do.
the Craig Ring blades? So it's 10 units in, I don't remember how many, but it's not a lot. And they have a 16, so it's 10 and 6U. Each of those was 2 cores of Intel or 2 cores of AMD and potentially a GPU. Right now, you go to the TDPs that we see on that parts now, that each of those units could be almost 2 kilowatts, 10 of those in 6U. That's a lot of heat to reject.
So here's the big, so everything is changing, as I say. But the problem with that, by the way, NVIDIA hires, what's his name? Wade, name is escaping me, Podmaster from HPE that did the chat stuff. Wade Vincent is now over at NVIDIA on that project. So Wade's over there. People say, hey, we want to put in a superpod. Oh, we want to put in a rack of DGXs. We want to do that.
Small nuclear reactor.
And by the way, I don't have any power. Oh, the floor loading sucks. And by the way, I only got 2 inches of concrete in the roof. And it's not going to help, etc. So every single AI thing that we do, we have to go back to the facilities. You have to go back to the future, so to speak, in this thing. And if you're talking AI, or you're looking at, using and improving and building, it's just going to exacerbate this problem. Now,
Put in a shipping container, it'll be fine.
yeah. So,
An aircraft engine on the end of the aircraft.
well, I mean, that's what there was Syracuse over here and a few other people now are putting in the turbines, the jet turbines, running natural gas, basically, and got what I'll call the muffler from hell, around them, so you only get the hum of that. But they're racking and stacking. Everybody's going, oh my God, thank you. But so let's see, data centers consume, depending on which study, 4 to 6% of the world's energy supply, world electricity. By 2040, it'll be 100%. Now, that can't happen. That just won't happen. Something has to change. And there's a lot of things that are starting to change over here. And by the way, this list is completely, totally, utterly incomplete. Okay, but there are different processors out there. There's different kind of memory. Now I can basically, with CXL and things like that, I can drive true composable disaggregated infrastructure. IOPS, cool little thing, put it in the card, it caches your vector database. Here's a dirty secret about AI. Okay, especially in multi-tenant, multi-user AI. You think when you're typing it in there, you're doing all the prompts and you do it the right way, John's way on how to do it, not my way, using the Urban Dictionary kind of thing. And you're typing away. And it goes over there and it comes back and you've got this information. Now, 15,000 other people have come in and done stuff and whatever. Your memory got wiped on that GPU. Your memory probably got wiped. Guess what it does? It has to go back and recalculate the vector database. What if I can cache it either here in a card that's like a quote NVMe cache sitting there, or I put it in the membrane. Just an L4 cache sitting right off there. And I can put 20, 30, 50 petabytes of memory in the mainframe, in the membrane to do that. So you're going to start seeing a lot of that. I don't think it's here at UT. How much time do I have? Oh, I got 30 seconds.
It's stretchable.
Anyway, I don't know if you've got a nano printing facility here at UT or not.
What, pretty?
A nano printing.
No.
It's the coolest damn thing. Go to Cooney, go to Rice, a couple other places where you can print right now at just under 200 nanometer. You can print a chip. If you've got your VLSI logic, you got your macro, plop it in, bloop, you can print a chip. You can print a chip. Now you think, oh crap, I'm trying to get down to angstroms down, right? 0.1 nanometers and all this stuff. 200. Yeah, but what if I could just write a chip that does that for me? 200 nanometers, that doesn't matter. I have the math, I put it on the chip, I make it. Your cadence license might cost you 20 million bucks. Okay, but here you can do that. You can start getting disposable ASICs. That's coming in the world. And it really changes in about 3 years. That's going to get way down below 100 nanometers. Why would I go through the FPGA world? Things like that. You might test it out on MATLAB, boom, throw it into Cadence, done. Got it. So everybody's got something with a U at the end. TPU, DPU, IPU, PU. Anyway, there's just scores and scores of these things that are coming on for low power inference at the intelligent edge. You think we're in a data deluge now? Wait until it turns on. Wait until the fountain. It is absolutely a Yellowstone super volcano that's going to happen. By the way, I live 15 minutes from the Continental Divide and Whitehall, Montana. So if it goes, I'm screwed no matter what.
We live near Oak Ridge.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. You're radiating. How many rads is it today?
I think we have a chance.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
I've been to Whitehall, Montana.
The real question is, can I get the network folks to give me all their old TCAM and shove that on a card?
There you go. Photonics is real, guys. It's coming. It is absolutely here. I love Ayers Lab. Light Matters is a good one out there. Drupe is another one that's moving this stuff for CDI. Very good. My second largest growth market for AI and HPC. Smart HPC needs AI. Fast AI needs HPC. Okay. You learned it here. It's quantum simulation. I don't care whether it's the purist and I got universal gate or I'm D-Wave and I got annealing. This is the race to the optimal algorithm for NP hard, NP complete problem. It is absolutely game on. And you think it's a wild ride doing AI? Buckle up, boys, because quantum is here.
Its applications, right?
Yes, but we already have Black-Scholes algorithm now.
Okay.
Nottingham Trent University has that. And the global finance community is all gaga now, wanting to get their own chandelier, to put on display to run that. An oil company with two X's in their name is very interested in trying to figure out hurricane simulation. Okay, why? Because 3 years ago, hurricane comes into the Gulf, they shut down their refineries. Shell didn't. It's easy to shut down a refinery. It's really hard to start a refinery up. They lost 45 days of production, $1 billion. That pays for a machine or two. So they're looking at that. Digital twins, AI, digital twins, same coin, same name. Analog is back full swing. You want low power, quantum-like, go analog. Analog is the future. Analog computing will be the future.
We're in the 70s, right?
I'm telling you, it is all over again. And frankly, that's basically.
Create an abacus.
It's a joke about autopilot here.
Slide rules. What do you think will be the most disruptive technology out of all of this?
Oh, man. My bet is photonics. My bet is on photonics. If photonics means like 5 different things out there, it's like saying quantum. That's 7 different things. But I'm not saying I'm actually building a chipset photonics, but I get the SoCs, okay, and I get rid of some of this heat and cabling limitations and everything else. That immediately goes back into the mid-plane, backplane on a router. And that's where the big savings is. 7 to 12, 7 to 10, 7 to 12% of the energy on the big systems sits in the switching. Most people forget, assuming you've got full bisectional bandwidth, everything else, 7 to 10 or 12% sits in that. I could whack off 7 to 12% almost. Changing photon, electron to photon to electron and back and forth and around we go.
I think the analog systems would be like coprocessors.
Yes, absolutely.
Be interested to see how small we can get a channel now, because right now we have manufacturing problems about getting them small enough that we have good control.
So our biggest problem is not so much the manufacturing per se, but so I agree with you. It is the test equipment to tune and get the manufacturing capability, tuned up and good. So those tooling, and the lab and test equipment are not made in the United States of America.
They're mostly in the Nordics.
So they sit in Germany, they sit in Switzerland, they sit in Sweden, Yeah, we're done.
Closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I got lots of
I
slides.
got some time.
Yeah, you can keep going, please. Oh,
The alcohol, less alcohol over time.
Yeah. So you asked me, this thing is going to rearrange things. It's disruptive in the sense that it absolutely allows us to make what I call really imbalanced systems. I did the petascale machine at Los Alamos. Oh, what a disaster. Okay. I mean, so yeah, Roadrunner. Anybody heard of Roadrunner? So it was a tri-blade system with 4 blades. We screwed up, had to add another blade in there, right, for communications in between. Anyway, don't do the math. But it was the most imbalanced thing. Well, now we get to AI. We get a whole bunch of GPUs in here. Now we're imbalanced. One of the big problems I have with GPUs right now is the inability to do real-time systems and preemption. Because it's a SIMD architecture and I have to complete that. I can't get that. So what are we putting in all our cars for autonomous systems? GPUs. It's like, God, this is the damnedest dumbest thing I ever heard of.
That's why I'm saying all computers, right?
Well,
Back to that.
and exactly, that's perfect.
It's used for drones now.
You also have the fact that products that are marketed as GPUs are often, that may be their primary use, but they tend to have other uses in hardware.
And they do. But I think this will change the way we build these unbalanced systems. I mean, we already have what's called a super node. I take one AMD server and I put 32 MI 300s, 310s in there. Just kill it. And I can do memory, different types of storage, things of that nature. That's going to re-architect it. CXL will help drive this. You're familiar with CXL? A Compute Express Link. Okay, so does it replace PCIe? No, it sits on top. PCIe is kind of like, anybody ever run Citrix?
Yeah.
Oh my God, ICA protocol, it's like the biggest, fattest pig stuck through a straw. Okay, I mean, that's ICA. Okay, that's what PCIe is actually. And this is a different, this is the protocol it still sits on the lanes, but it's a different protocol. And it'll have cache coherency and everything else. So this is really good. I love these guys. This is not an endorsement. Why do I like them? Because they're photonics.
Is this just switched Numalink?
Effectively. Remember the guys that did the switchless network, Rockport?
No.
Did you ever see Rockport? Oh, it was pretty freaking cool where I could do a 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D torus with no switch. They physically they had their, I forget what they called it, the middle box where they had all the different wire,
That's a cable nightmare.
yeah, no, it was. Okay. I mean, hell, they had to run an AI to figure out what to do with it, right? By the way, that's what I use AI for, is debug all my messes. But getting to your question is, it's starting to look like. But the nice thing that I like about, forget it's Drew, it's just CDI, is I don't have to have the same homogeneous thing in a slot. It could be FPGA, it could be A100, it could be a B200. It doesn't care, assuming that the power and everything's there for the slots. So I see an end of the world coming on this thing called SMXs, sitting them hard on a board and everything else, that takes too much power and everything else. I see them slotted out, whatever becomes a PCIe after Gen 8.
Do you remember when AMD was first moving to chiplet, they were talking about doing Infinity Fabric as an external interconnect? Did they ever actually do that?
Yeah, it's built in as part of their array on the inside.
But they never extended it outside the
No,
chassis?
never extended it out, and they won't. They actually, I think, got rid of part of that group. Actually, if I remember rightly. Yeah, but they got rid of that. I can ask my mentor at IBM Research was Mark Papermaster, the CTO. So
All right, Earl.
okay, now I'm done. Now I'm done.
My word questions have to wait to the bar.
Okay.
Yes.
So in my other secret life, I'm an information scientist librarian. What should I, as for my set profession, be looking at doing?
As a librarian.
Information scientist.
Oh,
librarian.
okay.
Actually,
Well, information theory, that's like you're a god. I mean, that's cool. The biggest challenge I see is we tend to limit the amount of meta information or tagging or definitions of or into this thing called whatever it is called the catalog. We need to be more expressive, and there is no interoperability of that meta information right now. And if you could create an open meta standard or define it, for that, so that the next generation systems that, when all that data in that edge and all that data is flowing in flight, being analyzed out of band and things like that, that would be very good. Now, the real cool thing is get over to IBM Albany Research and try to get them guys off their butt to finish the holographic storage system. Okay.
Mac OS 2.
Maybe. That was a great operating system. OS2 was great. It was just the wrong company. But, okay, that was the problem.
So that's how we all feel about Red Hat now.
Well, Red Hat is still doing their best to stay independent. I like that. They're still doing their best. I don't know if I answered your question. There's just not, there's a lack of interoperability in data in motion. And that's that's going to hinder us. That's going to hinder the agentic world of interoperating. We don't have, this is really going to sound crappy. We don't have a JSON like environment, you know. Java write once, debug everywhere, that kind of stuff, right?
So folks, thanks for letting us be in your ear for a little longer tonight.
Well, I got a question from online.
Yeah.
So I've been interested in photonics for a long time. I'm 62 years old this year, and it's something I've been interested in for decades. And I really wonder why it isn't going anywhere, why it hasn't moved.
I'll give you Earl's opinion. This is not WWT's opinion. So I am known as an oppressive asshole at times, but the reason is the Visa world and the cable world don't want VESA. Okay, that standards organization doesn't want it. They do not want to make things smaller and thinner and longer and faster and that. They want to sell you $40,000, 40-meter IB cables. That's the reason. It is not a technology reason. The technology has been there. Now, getting it into a chiplet and an SoC, that's taken some math, okay? But from a cabling perspective, it's all about the Visa organization, VESA.
So I guess you've also got to deal with, because now at design time, you're having to choose a lot of constraints that we used to push out into a module. I'm now imagining a stack of attenuators, because now you no longer have the ability to swap out any of the receiving hardware at runtime.
No, it's a brave new world out there. It was 2006. I was at Idaho National Labs, in Idaho. It's close to Montana, but it's in a different territory. It is not part of Canada. And we were working at that time trying to get some entanglement for networks, right? Do entangled networks to try to talk. Our baud rate was really crappy. It was like 10 or 4, right? I mean, but that is the sci-fi future in there right now. But the future today is completely disaggregated. You remember the old Sun, like 10Ks and 20Ks, and I put in a rack of blades and they'd be compute and storage and memory, and that's where the world's going. We tried to do it at Cray. It was 82, 83. We tried to do that with VME bus, right? It was crap. It failed. It was terrible, but we were trying it. That was Project Cascade.
If we don't give up now, they'll never have us back.
Okay.
Now, the promise will never let you leave.
Yeah, that's
He's
it.
going to dinner, so feel free to.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remember, you use about, what, 74 extra watts every time you say, please, blah, 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 you know, in your prompts. Some.
Well, now you need some caching, so we only use a nanowatt
Okay,
each time.
So wait, how does